Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Circle of the World podcast, where we discuss Joe Abercrombie's First Law series. I'm one of your hosts, Lord Chamberlain Jeffrey, and here are my co-hosts.
Much like to George.
And Harrison, the Adeptus Historical.
We continue our coverage of Last Argument of Kings, the third book in the original trilogy. And for this episode, we'll be reviewing Charity and Better Left Buried. So, let's get started. As usual, we've got to thank you all for your continuing support, your continuing fandom. Doesn't make sense to us, but we appreciate it. And remember to follow us on our social medias, as usual. Right, guys?
Yeah.
Yes.
Join us. Yeah. We have our own subreddit, which we don't do shit with, right? Do we do anything with that subreddit? Our own?
I don't think I ever set it up.
No.
Well, we just pretty much just use the First Law subreddit.
You're right. The First Law in the House of the Meme Makers. Yeah. Alrighty. So let's get started with our best meme of the week. Georgie boy, take it away.
We have another returner. We've got Wheatley Cereal, and he's back with it's just a really good Logan artwork. But the title is the real joke here. It's why didn't Logan kidnap all of the spirits from Shabulian and use them as fire-breathing fuel? Is he stupid?
I think the thing that makes it a meme is he stupid?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I thought memes have like the caption in the. I don't know. But I mean,
there's no hard and fast rules, right? It can be anything as long as it's as long as it's a repeated joke, I think.
I guess.
And the "is he stupid" thing is very funny. Like,
Look, as long as they can't accuse you of favoritism, I guess.
man, we're gonna have to get into some fucking philosophical discussion about what a meme is.
We should.
Listen. I think it doesn't technically fall into the criteria of meme, but it is fucking funny, and it is on House of the Meme Maker. By the way, if he should have collected them with like Pokemon, yeah,
He should have put them all in his whiskey flask.
yeah, he's got like multiple. Or actually, better yet, he said, "Hey, you want me to use the box of the seed? Fuck that! Get in here, spirit!" And it has to obey because his power is they have to obey him. So he could be like, "Get in this box." There was only one spirit on the island, so
that we know of.
And plus, I don't think they actually have to obey him. They just talk to him.
No. Now remember, the power of the spirits is the whole thing is that you can commune with spirits and command them. That's why whenever he calls them, they have to come, even though they don't really seem like they want to talk to him. That's why when he asks them a question, they have to answer, because that's what the power is. He may not know he's doing it, but they have to obey.
He thinks they're his friends.
Yeah, I don't. Where's that in canon? I don't remember
what
that.
Bias says it, and
Bias does say command over the spirits, like
Badesh did, but not Logan.
No, he said and thus was born the three schools of magic. So
yeah,
the three schools of magic is high art, understanding the earth, and thus being able to temper the other side.
Right. But he's not like a magi. That's like, a school of
You're
magic.
right.
And hold on. And Bias specifically said that he chose Logan for his ability to commune with the spirits, not to command the spirits. My good sir,
he could have just left that bit out.
Yeah, he didn't need to say it. He's like, I need you so that you can talk to the spirits. But like, why would they talk to him? They don't have any reason to talk to him.
Look, until I see Logan telling a spirit to make him a sandwich, and that spirit making said sandwich, I don't subscribe to this thought.
What? We covered this a year ago. Yes, we did. Inside the blade itself.
Yeah, but Jeff. Not him commanding the spirit.
We did.
Talking.
If you go back and listen to.
Do you think I will go back and listen to that?
All right, guys, we're getting off track already.
Right. Sorry.
I would like to imagine like a future, like an alternate universe where Joe actually did like keep that track through of Logan being able to use the spirits in a more
right.
Like a more versatile way, like if he was like a battle mage or something.
Right. I mean, I know
spirits of people and shit.
We know he could spit them out, but
he says like, "Oh, fire!" Kicks him.
Yeah. Logan doesn't swallow. So, start Charity.
Thanks, Sweetly Cereal, for that meme.
Never post again. You're causing a war back here.
So, sorry. Let's start off with our first chapter read through, Charity, and we start off with the perspective of Giselle, His High King Majesty August, whatever. Adua is burning. the 3 farms, the 2 westernmost districts, all that jazz. It's not doing well, Adjua, let's just say. He's up in the Tower Chains, just looking out over his city, and he's just numb. And Marshal Varuz is just, telling him in a very monotonous tone that, Casimir's wall has been breached 3 days ago, drove back the first 2 assaults, held the 3 farms, then, but the next day was another breach and another, and all this fucking powder, this fire powder, it's changing the game, baby. Baez is no help here. He's like, Kalul always loved to tinker with this dust in his bottles. It's just...
Thanks for that input, Baez.
Thanks, bro. Thanks. And, yeah, so Harrison, do you want to come in here to talk about, how the Gurkish are making their way into the city?
I'm actually not a big fan of the chapter because basically it's just it is a progression, right? They're making their way to the city, and it's obviously kind of necessary for them to show that they're coming through. But it's just kind of catching up. Like, oh look, the Gurkha's are doing well. It's just like in Nagaska, with their fire engines, so they're breaking through much faster than they normally would, which is making everybody freak out. But people are still fighting. Giselle feels bad about the people. To me, this chapter doesn't start until we get to the break, to be honest, for me.
Okay. All right.
And I think it would be nice, wouldn't it, to get some more detail about what's going on. Varus is basically just like, yeah, no, they attacked, and then we pushed them back, and then they came back again, and,
right.
Yada, yada, yada.
Yeah, I mean, basically, this part of the chapter is Varus giving Giselle a play-by-play of what's been happening.
Right.
That Casimir's wall has been breached, but Arnaut's wall still firm. The fires almost reached a certain area called the Four Corners. They're fighting for every street, every house, every room, just as you said we should. And Giselle's like, right, I did say that. I did say that.
Yeah.
And
I do like how Giselle is reacting here. Like he's realizing the consequences of his actions. Like, sure, they're fighting for every street, but he's like thinking about all those people who are just dying.
Right.
And I like that sits with him. He's not just like pawning it off like a lot of people would, like Baez is.
Yeah, Baez is like, who cares? Ah! There's a shitload of Gurkish ships in the bay that Giselle's hoping that he was like, are those Union ships? And Varus is like, yeah, no. Apparently,
I like how he can't tell.
Yeah, as if they don't have flags or something. But
yeah, exactly.
Varus is like, yep, nope. Apparently they're expert sailors now. They have so many ships. Our navy's trying to ferry our army back across from England. So that sucks. So not really any good news here. There's a lot of casualties. I'd say 1,000 dead on our side, and Giselle's like, yep. And many more wounded, and we don't have a lot of space for them, actually. So Giselle says, open the Agriant to the wounded, to the homeless. And since the army's away, we have, a room to spare, and, barracks and ample provisions, because those are usually reserved for the army, but obviously there's no army right now. And Baez is like, that's a risk. We don't know if there'd be Gurkish spies or all of the... And Giselle's like, I'm prepared to take that risk, motherfucker. Am I king here or not? And Baez is like, you are. And you'd be well advised to act like it. There's no time for sentiment. The enemies are closing in. In some places, they might be within 2 miles of where we are. And Giselle's kind of, he's like, 2 miles? Oh, my God. He's thinking to himself. He's like, oh, no. But then he kind of, he snaps. He's, like, angry at his own cowardice, as much as angry as he is as Baez. So he's like, I will stand or fall alongside the people of the Union. They are willing to die for me. I am willing to die for them. Open the Agriant. So
which I love that Giselle always uses these, and he will continue to use these phrases and little moments that a good king is supposed to do, and he does it not because he's trying to specifically look good, but because he's like, no, this is the right thing to do. So let's do this thing. But the way it's read and the way people act towards him, always acts like he's just like scum. Like, oh, you idiot. Yeah. But it's actually really refreshing that he is so noble as a king.
Yeah. He's noble in I guess you could say in a cliche way, but in a good way as well.
Yeah.
And then there's that slight twist of where he's just always kind of just making these decisions in anger, which is probably not the best way to go about it. Like,
Oh, yeah.
So then there's a bit of a break. And when Giselle kind of just walks away, he's like, "Fuck this," and we come back to him in his bedchambers with Queen Therese. He had just walked in, and Queen Therese is chilling by the window, looking out like, lovely ambiance. And Giselle is looking around like all her ladies have been sent back to Styria, to Talons, except for Countess Chalier, but she's nowhere to be found right now. And Giselle is she's just tired, right? Therese she immediately starts with saying, "You're treading dirt in here. Hello."
I just vacuumed.
And she, I don't know how to describe this. It's like Therese is like, "Must you come to me in this manner?" And he's like, "Well, I can't stay away. You are my wife after all." And she's like, "Not by choice." And he goes, "Look, it wasn't my choice either, but I'm trying to at least make the best of things. I would much rather marry someone who didn't hate me. But can we not fight? Can we at least be civil?" And then she looks at him, and then she's like, "How can you?" And he goes, "How can I what?" And she's like, "How can you like keep trying?" And he's like, "Well, I had hoped you might come to admire my persistence, if nothing else." Like the description here is that hope is in very short supply, and so he's willing to seize upon the slightest shred of hope. And he's like, "Look, you've made it clear that you think very little of me, and I don't blame you. I think very little of myself too. But I am trying very hard to be a better man." And Therese's mouth kind of twitches up into like a sad smile, right? And she goes, and she reaches up, and touches his face. And she goes, "Why can't you not understand that I despise you? I despise the look of you, the feel of you, the sound of you. I despise this place and its people. So the quicker that the Gurkish burn it all down to the ground, the happier I'll be." Giselle goes, "Right, I will go to another room. This one's pretty cold." And then she goes, "At last," and just whoosh. And that's pretty much it. And he just walked for the door. That's a big woof. F in the chat, right? Isn't that what the kids say? Good lord.
Yeah, it's pretty sad, honestly, because Giselle he really is trying, and to be honest, compared to most characters in the series, he has been, and for the most part, continue to try to be a better man and pass something along.
And Therese just ain't having it.
Which I think speaks to Giselle's character, that he's been trying so hard, and even though he backs off of Therese like here, like almost entirely, that he, despite him being completely alone at this point, really, he is not giving up.
Yeah. As a reader, I mean, if you're a first-time reader, you're probably reading this like, "Damn, Therese is a bitch." But you'll come to see why she really is the way she is. She doesn't necessarily hate the Union or
she is a bitch, but
yeah, she's acting like one. But we'll find out why things. You'll see. So stay tuned, folks. But yeah, that's the end of that chapter. Harrison, let's start with you. You already talked about how you didn't really like this chapter. What's your score?
I'm gonna give it a 2 out of 9.
God damn.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, like the whole part with Giselle saying, "Oh yeah, we're gonna open up." The only thing irrelevant in the first part of the chapter, or the majority of the chapter, is him and basically, his character, where he's at, and them saying we're gonna open it up. But he's already been doing these kinds of things, so it's like nothing new other than just catching us up. And then we get to the Therese part, which is really good, like from its storytelling, and you think that she's softening up, and it's really nice, but like that's it. That's all that's like really good in the chapter, in my opinion. It's just kind of like, oh yeah, this is a very interesting moment in a story where most of the time the story will be like, okay, I'll give you a chance, but no, she's just like, wow, fuck you, I hate you. So, but it does show a certain amount of character from her, that she is soft when she says it to help him understand, even though she's saying terrible things. So it's good, but that's all there is in this. So.
Okay. And George, you?
I reckon I'm just gonna go one higher. I'm gonna give it a 3. Because exactly what you're saying. Like it's just kind of reinforcing. We have to have something here, so it's not just like oh, and then the army arrives. Yeah, I'm just going to give this one a 3 because it is essentially just like he's restating the points of this is hopeless and Giselle is growing as a person, which is very good and it's very well written. But it's very much just retreading the same ground.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd like to see personally more to do with the defense itself because I know we've already had a lot of that with Dagoska, but be interested to see this would be a really good point to have the Little People's chapter as well.
Yeah, I was just gonna suggest.
Which is it's so sad that Joe, he didn't come up with it until the heroes. So yeah, it's just this chapter is very much things could be better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'll give it a 3 out of 9 as well. It is a bit like a filler chapter, and I kind of agree with George in that like I would have rather seen like a Little People chapter, like perspective, like the defenses, like of like losing Casimir's wall and everything. I mean, again, like as Harrison usually says, it doesn't mean it's a bad chapter. It's not badly written or anything. It's just our personal preference. That's all. In terms of like where we rank them. But yeah, 3 out of 9 for me. You do like the tidbit where he, stands up for himself against, with Baez, and Baez, the reader, if you're a first time reader, you're looking like, okay, Baez is like, he's a wizard. He's a bit cranky, maybe mean, but he's essentially good, right? At least, you're kind of getting hints of some other stuff, but you'll see. But yeah,
that's a good point there, actually.
Yeah, because like even when I was reading this book, the series for the very first time, I was kind of like, yo, look, Baez is being a cranky old man. It's pretty cool, but he's still like on the side of the protagonist. Like we're with Baez, even though he's a bit of a dick. And then but then you'll see. Anyway, so we'll move. That's our first chapter read through. Let's move on to our next segment, which is our community interaction segment for this episode. Harrison, take it away.
Hey guys, I couldn't do a poll this time because I started to type out the poll and then I realized, oh god, it's all spoilers. So I posted a up on the first law like the best parents. Who do people think the best parents are? And I kind of would say the Dogman personally. Who would you guys say before we get into the comments? Is like the best parents on the whole?
Yeah, Dogman is hard to beat. Dogman seems like a genuinely loving, and he just wants the best for his kids. So,
but also not like soft.
Yeah, exactly. He still prepares them for the world and all that, but yeah, hard to beat the Dogman.
My vote would be,
heavy spoilers on this in case anybody is not aware of that. Really heavy spoilers on this one.
Right. My vote would be Logan and his wife back in the day.
Are you sure about that?
No. Can you imagine him being a dad? Hey, go clean up your room. No, Dad. Just kills her. Let me think. Good parent.
We've seen him be a dad.
Right.
Well, he is a good dad.
He is a good dad.
But he's not.
He has certain.
He's not the best.
He tries to kill them.
He's not the best. Listen, he's a good dad in peaceful times. Can we all agree at that? But when any kind of comes to any kind of violence whatsoever, he completely goes off the walls.
Yeah, he goes off the walls. He tried to kill his own kids. Great guy, though. Great guy.
Great guy.
Great guy. My favorite parents, and we can go like the entire series, right? You said spoiler heavy.
Mm-hmm.
Damn. I don't want to say Glocta and Artie just because of what they enabled in terms of like Savine. But I mean, shit. Fuck it. I'm going Glocta and Artie.
I mean, they're very popular. And in here, two people. The top comment is, can something beat making 3 edicts protect your daughter? Do not think so. I mean, Glocta and Artie are no doubt loving to let me correct. They're not loving towards Savine, but they do love Savine, and they will do anything to make it work. Except that's not true, because she put herself in jeopardy, and they didn't change their plan. They just said, "Man, hope she makes that okay." They just kept
Fuck-
going. They even admit that to her. They're like, "Well, we couldn't really let you change your plans. We knew you'd be all right."
Fuck if we know.
So they do love her, and they obviously taught her very useful skills. But man, I don't think they're the best.
Definitely not. I mean, they literally like used her as a pawn in their game. So, you know.
Which I mean, Sabine would do the same. So I mean,
That's true.
Somebody mentioned Vitari, and I thought, oh my god, I didn't think about her, but she is a good mother, isn't she?
Yeah, she definitely seems like she's very like loving, and which is out of character for her.
Yeah, she's like a different person almost whenever she's compared to them, but
Well, I
she's
don't know.
very patient, and
Mhm.
obviously she's not going to raise them to be weak. So
Right, but I don't know if it's out of character for her. I mean, like everyone has a personal and professional side, you know. So as a practical, she's a no
That's true.
nonsense bitch, and as a parent, she's a little softy.
I do like how there is a certain level of like, there's all these subtle things with
You
the
know what?
characters and shows.
Yeah, you know what? I'm changing my answer. I like Shanked and Vitari.
Oh,
Oh,
and the cannibal and the torturer.
Yeah, the best.
I do think.
Although torture and alcoholic is a good combo too.
I will say that that Joe does such a good job at the characters seeming real that some characters can't help but intermingle professional and personal, like Glocta. But Vitari is very good at, disassociating those two things.
Mhm.
So
It's just a
I
day
think that's
job.
a factor. Yeah, exactly, exactly right. There is a lot of, for some reason, First Law Reddit blocked out a lot of people's first comment. Which is kind of frustrating.
What do you
because I put down spoilers all. Like if you scroll down, Flintlock T, most of his stuff got blocked. All I see here is by no means the best parent, but I think I love and respect his children for him says a lot. But the next comment down below it says Giselle and Therese loved Orso, which makes me think that he's saying, I don't know for sure, but I'm pretty sure Flintlock T is saying, Giselle is by no means the best parent, but I think the love and respect that his children have for him says a lot. And then he has a whole paragraph that got blocked out. But
Oh yeah, that's so weird.
Who runs
Yeah.
the First Law subreddit? Do we know?
Oh, we've spoken to them a couple of times.
we spoke to him. He's fine. It's just one of those things where it probably is a bot that automatically blocks it. And for some reason I didn't tag it correctly.
I forget how
But-
prevalent bots are in like
Yeah.
so many things.
Yeah, they're all over the place. Like.
Do you think Giselle's a good dad?
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, he's a good dad, right? He's got to be.
Yeah, if one of my theories about him isn't true.
You're
Oh
such a
God!
cynic.
Here we go. What's your theory?
Well, I'm still of the opinion that Glocta and Giselle were working together and they set up also to fail.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't think so.
So if that's not true, then yeah, he's a good dad. But yeah.
Oddly enough,
I have a
think-
sneaking suspicion that maybe it's not true. I don't know what it is. I can't put my finger on it. I don't know.
Giselle and Therese, even though they are terrible with each other, which is the only thing that holds them back from being really good parents, that's it, is their lack of being able to work together. But individually, and henceforth their kids, they all seem to be really good people that have a certain amount of steel within them and very intelligent. And so I would say Giselle and Therese, even though they lack one thing, they actually are pretty good parents overall.
Yeah, I'd say so. Especially you kind of get that like divorced mum kind of vibe whenever they go to Tyler's, she's just like absolutely shit talking Giselle, and also she stood there like, yeah.
The next person mentioned Lord Marshal Croy.
Oh yeah.
Yes, good dad.
Good dad.
Good
Yes, absolutely.
Great dad. Great guy.
Somebody mentioned great guy. Yeah, great guy. Somebody mentioned Weirdener, which is
I hate to say it, but
not a
is
dad.
a good dad.
Not a dad.
seem-
Not a dad.
No, he's technically not. No.
Not a dad.
Well, hang on. I take offense to that.
Look, my man is sterile. He ain't a dad.
Whoa! You don't have to be. Hang on. Hold up. You don't have to fucking push one out in order to be a dad. All right.
Listen,
If that's the case, then the Glocta isn't apparently.
Yeah, exactly.
I apologize. But Waiterner is out here kidnapping kids. Fuck that. No.
He
Yeah,
didn't
so-
kidnap them. He just bought the kidnapped
He
kids.
pays for people to kidnap kids. That is human trafficking. No, fuck him. I'm glad Logan did what he did to his
But he
fucking
gives
head.
him a good life. He's not putting him to sex trafficking. He's
You
putting him into
son of a
dragon
bitch.
training.
Of course, Harrison's out here defending human trafficking.
Listen. If we're taking them out of context, right? We're not calling them good or bad people. That's why we didn't disqualify Logan. He's a terrible person most of the time.
Great guy,
half the time. Great guy though.
Great
But
guy.
he can be a good parent. Giselle is pretty weak, but he's a good parent. He's a good dad. So Werdenor is a good dad, but he is a shit person. His morals are fucked up.
Calling Werdener a good dad is like calling Epstein a good dad. You goofball.
No, there's completely different. There's a difference between.
Oh, really? It's different.
Very
Okay, all right.
different.
I'll point out.
Very
I'll point
different.
out the similarities. They're at the top of their
Where's the
organization.
sex?
Hold on. They're at the top of their organization. All right. Secluded. All right. And pays to bring kids to them.
Yeah, but you know what the difference is when the kids get to them? Werdener goes, "You are my child now. I'm sorry that this has
I
been so
bet
hard for
Etsy
you.
said the same
I wish
thing.
it was better.
I
Let
bet
me
he said
give
the
you a new."
same thing. Let me give
You're-
you a new life on this island.
Werdener did not sexually abuse those kids.
You don't know. There's
All
a
right.
reason. There's a reason Dab
right.
Sweet's side piece is not
We're
a
moving
fan of
on.
them. All right.
We're moving on.
All right. Thank you.
She was his brother. What are you talking about?
I don't
Or his
know.
sister.
Who cares?
Anyways,
Anyway, let's move on to our second and final chapter read through, so I can get away from these human trafficking pro people here, these supporters. Jesus. Anyway,
What? Don't fucking lump me up with him.
sorry, George, you're excluded from this. It's just Harrison, of course, the
Wait a minute.
Oklahoman.
you agree with me.
Who agrees with you?
Oh, final shout out from the Bloody Niner. He said that Temple and Shai did seem to be pretty good parents at the end.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah,
They're
they
gonna
seem
be
really
good.
good
You're right.
parents.
You're right.
Yeah.
You know,
I
take
forgot about Shivers as well.
yeah, because that
And
makes sense. Because they took their
Shivers
kids.
and Dogman.
They took their kids back from the people that kidnapped them, like the people that Harrison's defending. So, so let's move on to our second and final chapter read through, ladies and gentlemen. Better left buried, like Harrison's parenting choices. So, we'll go on. I'm sorry. So we start this chapter. This chapter is totally from Pharaoh's perspective, and she's talking about. Well, she's thinking about like the fighting. I guess she's taking part of it as well. This is the first chapter we see from her, right, since the skirmish one, right, guys?
Yeah, it's been
Yep.
quite a while.
So we can imagine that she's been with them for the time being, like retreating maneuvers or whatever you want to call it, as they're, setting up little surprises or whatever for the Gurkish as they make their way back to the city. And they're in the city now. She's been helping them fight, and she's making her way back to the chambers where she sleeps with Baez and company. She's low on arrows and all that stuff, right? And then she gets back to the room, and it's Yulwei just chilling. And we haven't seen Yulwei in a while. We like Yulwei, right, boys?
Woo, your way.
Yeah, you away, my man.
And Yulwei's like, "Hey, Pharaoh, we don't need to be here. We can leave. Don't have to die here. I can, if I brought you and I can take you away, I go where I please because, baby, I'm sneaky." And she goes, "No, because you didn't give me vengeance like you promised me, you son of a bitch." And then Baez comes in with Kwai and Yoru Sulfur, and Baez is kind of tight. He's upset.
By the way, quick sidebar. I like how they say that Kwai and Silver are behind Baez, like little minions.
And and Baez is pissed because Giselle has, been defying him. He's like, "That little shit. After everything I've given him, he repays me like this? How dare he defy me before the close council, telling me to mind my business? What?" And
Me.
and Pharaoh's like, "Ooh, trouble with King Luthar the Magnificent." And Baez is like,
you can rely on Pharaoh for a good bit of sarcasm.
you gotta love it. Just reminds me of when she was laughing. The only one laughing when Giselle was like, "He should be king." What?
Yeah.
And Baez is just like, this motherfucker was the dumbest, emptiest head in the whole fucking circle of the world. Name drop. And now you put a crown on him, and he thinks he stole a kiss. And
which just implied that Stolakix was actually a good leader at one point, because otherwise he wouldn't have compared him to that. So we know that that's not fake news.
Yeah, right. And anyway, so Baez asks Yulwei to give him some, give me the deets on what's going on over there with the Gurkish. He tells them that more Gurkish come into the city, yada yada yada. He's like, okay, that I can learn from the close council. Tell me of Mamoon and the 100 words. And I like they always have to say, like, when they talk about Mamoon, they always have to be like, oh, Mamoon, the thrice blessed, thrice cursed, that guy. Wondrous first apprentice, God's right hand, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, he's waiting. And him and his brothers and sisters, they have a giant tent. They're praying for victory. They listen to music. They're bathing in scented water. They're naked. They're living their best life.
I keep expecting like Yulwei to stop talking that way, just because everybody else always is like even if they talk that way like a little bit, like Bias does sometimes as a facade, like he's gonna stop. But Yulwei just keeps talking like this all the time.
He does not change, and I love my man Yulwei for it. And they sit, they eat night and day, and we know what that means, in open defiance of the second law. So they're just
nom.
Can you believe that these Mamoon's out here just eating people? Jesus Christ, great guy though, great guy. And great guy, and they're ready to avenge somebody apparently. So they want to kill Baez. They are waiting for this moment. They're polishing their armor. Yulwei could not get through this quick enough. And then basically they're kind of deciding, okay, well, we can't run away because we ain't no bitches and it's just us. So we gotta go to the house of the maker.
Get some weapons.
Get some weapons. And Yulwei's like, what? You mean like the divider? And then Kwai's like, one edge here, one on the other side.
Yeah, just as ominously as possible, and like everyone just ignores him.
Everyone's like, oh my god,
gosh, shut up, fucking hell, Malachus.
Jesus Christ. It's like the beginning couldn't shut him the fuck up or get him to guess a plant. Now he's just out here throwing out these weird, like, creepy one-liners that everyone just ignores. So Yulwei is gonna go with Baez and Kwai to go to the house of the maker. Pharaoh said, I'll go with you. Baez said, no bitch, you staying here. And Sulfur has other business to attend to, apparently. And so they leave. Sulfur hangs back a little bit. And then, Pharaoh kind of strikes up a little bit of a conversation, right? She goes, so are these 100 words not your enemies too? And he's like, no, they are. My deepest and most bitter. And she goes, why don't you fight them? And he says, well, there are other ways to fight than struggling out there. And then Pharaoh is like, she recognizes that something in his eyes, and the fact that he's, I forget the term for it. It's what's that term when you have
heterochromia?
Heterochromia, that's it. There's something in his eyes that she's like, I don't like this. He's like hungry and hard. I don't, no smiles. They fake.
I like how Pharaoh's the only person that he's rude to as well.
Yeah,
he's pretty rude to her, right?
Because he's always so nice to everybody else, right? But I think I know why, because at this point, why is she there? She has no point in being there because they don't need her because she's the seed. They couldn't find the seed. So maybe Sulfur thinks and things of that are useful, and we know that at least. So maybe he's just like, oh, you're useless. You're a waste of room. I don't like you.
Maybe. Well, I mean, Pharaoh's rude
or a threat.
Well, hold on. Pharaoh is rude to everybody, and
that's true.
Yeah.
Maybe he just maybe he's nice the first time, and then if you're rude to him, like he comes back and he's nice the second time.
Yeah, because like he is actually only rude here at the last part where after she snaps, she goes, "Go then, I will not stop you." And he's like,
"You could not stop me if you tried."
Yeah. All right, Brucev.
I do like where he's like, I would wish you a good day, but I don't think you've ever had one.
Nah,
Yo,
oh, sulfur
sick
burn.
burn, bro.
Bro, sulfur burns are actually fire, bro. They're always
They
they
are.
always cut to the heart. You're like, damn.
Damn, boy, he said your mama. Well, okay, anyway. So as soon as he leaves, Pharaoh does waste no time in opening the window and creeping on the roofs and trying to follow Baez and everybody. And as she's following them, creeping and crawling, we can hear she gets in within earshot of Baez and Yulwei, and Yulwei's like, so Sulfur, he's like still with you, and he's like, and Baez is like, yeah, of course, and Sulfur is like, he studies kind of, does some weird things. I've talked to you about this before, and he's like, yeah, and Kalul isn't picky. And he's like, yeah, but, he does this whole thing of taking forms, changing skin. It's a weird thing to do, You remember what Juvens thought about it? And Baez like, I have no time to worry about the feelings of a man that's dead. There is no third law. There's just two. All right? Besides, he's a great guy. And...
Nice one, Joe.
Thank you. And then, and apparently this is a trick of Glustrad, like stealing another's face and his devil bloods. And devil bloods are demons, but they're all demons. Juvens, Canadias, Badesh, right?
Which is interesting because we're kind of meant to think that changing faces is like some kind of eater thing, but we know by the way Yulwei is talking here that it's not. Like it's a separate deal, which I didn't really think about until this read through. I don't know if you guys thought about that.
So changing faces is a thing of Glustrad, right? Like that's specifically, I guess I don't know if that's Glustrad's specialty. Like it's not his only thing, because for him to be super powerful, that it required all three of the other brothers to fight him. He has to be able to do other stuff.
I think it's more of a thematic thing, right? Because that's the way that a lot of devils are kind of treated as in like a lot of religions.
Mm-hmm.
Like they can take forms and
shapeshifters and shit.
Yeah.
Treachery, I guess.
It's also implied that it's difficult to do, and even though a lot of people in the Union talk about, an eater, anybody can be an eater because they can change faces and blah 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 blah. I think it's more of eaters are an idea of magic, whereas, it's easier to grasp what an eater is because so many people end up encountering them, rather than it being like far off in the distance, like a magi or something like that. So. They just assemble anything that's like creepy or evil with an eater.
Right.
Oh yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah. Okay. So all right. So we'll get back to that later. But so Yulwei and Baez continue their conversation. That Yulwei's like he's uncomfortable about using weapons like that are arts borrowed from the other side and stuff like that because it's just a tool. But Baez tells him it's because of just us two. That's why we use the apprentices that we have. That's why we use the tools that we're gonna have to use, because there's 100 of them. So
it's 100 of them, and there's only 2 of us. I like how we completely discount Sulfur. It's just like it's just 2 of us.
Right, and so they're making their way. Pharaoh's still following, and then little bits of conversations get picked up, right? Little snippets. Like Yulwei says he's glad they didn't find the seed because that thing's better left buried. They go down to the, there's like that building that you have to go through to enter the House of the Maker, like that bridge.
It's the university, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Is it the university? Yeah, it's the university, and then it's another spot too. I forget, but it's that guy that's like eggs. Remember him?
Yeah, Eggman.
Eggman.
You also see Fatari looking out the window before they enter the university as well.
Yep.
Cameo.
Cameo. And then Pharaoh's like following at a certain distance and everything, and apparently Kwai like turns his head real quick, and Pharaoh's like fuck. she cowers in the corner, but Kwai doesn't see her. And then
Kwai's instincts are kind of crazy.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And then they keep talking. We hear like you always say like, man, this place it's changed, but it kind of like hasn't, And they talk about the day they fought Canadius, and how Yulwei was wounded on the bridge in the rain, and he saw them fall, the Maker and his daughter. Oh man, vengeance is a fleeting thrill. And Bias is like, yep, but time has brought us both regrets. And he goes, you know what? Strange thing. Could have sworn that when I was laying there that Canadius fell first and then Ptolemy. Huh. And Bias like, yeah, well, yeah, no. Memory can tell lies, buddy. So anyway, let's open this door.
And then he recites it like he's reading off of a fucking script. And he's like, no. Now, the maker threw his daughter off the top, and then I've knocked him off, and they both fell on the bridge below. He just
and then the old time ended. He's like, uh-huh.
Yeah, look how you always like, yeah, all right.
So they leave. They go through before they leave, the guy's like, all right, I gotta lock this door. And Bias is like, no, just coming back quick. Just leave it unlocked. Just leave it ajar. He's like, nah, man, I just gotta, I gotta lock it. And then Bias like, Jesus Christ, fine, just wait here until we come back, right? But don't go anywhere. Jesus. And the guy's like, all right, good lord. And so they leave, and then the guy closes the door behind them, and then Pharaoh grabs a stone, cracks that dude over the head. So he's like, ooh. And then she catches him before he falls, and she puts him carefully on the ground, and then she takes his keys.
Yeah, Eggman lived.
Eggman's okay. He's okay. And then and when Pharaoh opens the door, she sees that the three of them have crossed the bridge, and she starts making her way. And we should note that we remember from the first book when Logan, Glocta, and Giselle went with Bias to the House of the Maker. They, to put it mildly, they did not have a great time. They were not a fan of the feeling of the air, like all that stuff. Pharaoh's loving it. She's like, wow, this is like a sunny day in the Maldives, baby. Woo! And it's like a cool breeze. And she makes her way, and she sees that they have opened the door because Bias has the key. Let's not forget that. And apparently, even though it's a tower, and apparently you can get to the roof, I guess if once Bias locks that bad boy up, no one can get out of it, I guess. Anyway, so they enter. Pharaoh waits a beat. She enters.
It's almost Joe's description of it. It's actually because of the way she sees, so she sees better, and I presume this is why he did it this way. Because she sees better, we actually see more of the interior. It doesn't just look like some kind of black empty space. She can actually look around and see the edges of the walls, and she can look up, and she can't quite see what the top is. But she does see like 4 stories where balconies are coming out in the middle. So we can actually see it as if there was light in there, seeing it as like this is obviously the courtyard of the house of the maker, like the lobby. But there you can actually see up to the top, and at the top that she can see, not the very top, but very high up, about 4 stories up, maybe higher, there is like this pendulum thing spinning around.
Sorry.
With like tons of different rings, and they're like massive rings too, and they're held up by these tiny little wires.
Well, in the description, it almost reminds me of like an astrolabe, like a model of like a solar system.
Yes, yeah. Which is interesting because maybe it is.
Yeah.
Because Canadius, as we see here in just a second, as we already know is actually here, is below her. She sees on the ground all this golden, scrawling of it looks like some kind of image, and it's the circle of the world, with Adua at its center and everything like that they've seen before. And seeing as this is super high up above, it almost makes you think that maybe this, and she wouldn't know what it is. Nobody would. If maybe it is a solar system. We never know, but it is a pretty cool, interesting idea.
What Canadius is trying to do is trying to get into space.
Fucking Canadius with Elon
Trying to build a
Musk.
spaceship.
Elon Musk.
He is Elon Musk. Oh shit.
He's still here.
And you know what he is, because he's, how Elon Musk is obsessed with the letter X. Apparently, Canadius's mark is everywhere.
Oh my god!
Letter.
So Pharaoh, and the main thing is that Pharaoh is looking around, and she's like,
"Can you before you talk about that real quick? We do have to mention that before Pharaoh was able to like take in the sights, Yulwei and Byers are still within sight, and
of course.
before they went the separate ways, where Bias was gonna look for the divider. You're always gonna look for more weapons. Look for more weapons. You always like before anything. I need to ask you a question. It's the same one I always ask. And Bias like Jesus Christ again. All right, fine, ask. But you always ask him in a whisper. Did you kill Juvens? Did you kill our master? And here, Bias is like, look, I made mistakes many times, and many mistakes, and very long ago. Some here in the some here, some in the ruined west. The day does not pass where I do not regret them. I fought with Kolul. I ignored my master's wisdom. I trespassed in the house of the Maker. I fell in love with his daughter. I was proud, vain, rash, yes, but I did not kill Juvens. Yulwei asked him what happened that day. And then here, the first of the Magi spoke the words as though they were lines long rehearsed. Canadius came to take me for seducing his daughter, for stealing his secrets. Juvens would not give me up. They fought, I fled. The fury of the battle lit the skies. When I returned, the Maker was gone, and our master was dead. I did not kill Juvens. And then Yulwei goes, okay, all right. Mamoon lied. Kolo lied. We will fight against them together. And Bias is like, good, good. I'm glad I can trust you as you can trust me. And Pharaoh's like, trust, a word that only liars use, a word that the trustful don't need. And then they separated and went their way.
I'm back to Pharaoh looking around. A big thing that she is like, she doesn't have the same feeling at all that everybody else did. Where she's like, oh, this is creepy and scary. She's like looking around. She's like, wow, this place is kind of nice. It's awesome. And and she looks up and she's like, oh, there's like this little black thing up there.
Love
I
the
want to touch
interior.
it. I want to touch it. So she fucking climbs up the walls, up 4 stories, and debatably it's higher than 4 stories because Canadius is a tall builder. She
He builds tall things.
yeah, so she climbs up all the way to the on the balcony of the 4-story, quote unquote, and then jumps up on the rings, and this kind of like Mission Impossible esque, like, oh no, the rings are moving, and she's like climbing over them and falling down, and she gets to this little orb thing, and she like pushes it, and then like the entire thing shuts off, like it was powered by this object, and she gets it, and she's like, wow, this thing's kind of nice. And then it drops all the way down to the ground, like boom, super loud. She's like, oh, I dropped it. So she gets off, climbs all the way back down, and goes and picks it up, and is like, wow, this thing's kind of special. It kind of is like, and she refers back to I guess she actually referred back to this a little bit before she climbed up, my bad. But she says, where do you hide a stone among 1,000 stones? Because the house of the Maker looks like 1,000 fucking stones everywhere, like a ton of tiny stones built up on top of each other. And then she goes to start thinking about it, and Bias is like, the seed.
Just conveniently appears. I like to imagine they stood there and watched her do all this. They're just like, what the fuck is she doing?
I think when it dropped back down, it got everybody's attention.
Yeah, because it was loud as shit.
Super loud, yeah. So Bias is like, the seed. And she's like, oh, it is. Oh, that's crazy. And Bias is like, okay, listen, Pharaoh, I have a box in my office. Go there. Go right now. Don't do anything else. Please just do that. But then, little Malachus Quiet's there too.
Yeah, Malachus comes out of nowhere, right?
It's just
like, wait!
It's like running towards them, and it's like, what the fuck, man? What's this? What's going on?
Stay. It was here all along. At last, the seed. Give it to me. And then I like how the description here is like he crumpled up like discarded paper, was ripped from his feet and flung away the whole width of the vast room in the time it took Pharaoh to drag in one stunned breath. She was she's seen death before, but she's never seen death that quickly. She's like, wow. And then she goes, what did you do? And Bias is like, listen, I had to do it. I had to do it. Get to the palace right now. You don't know how dangerous this thing is. And Pharaoh's like, all right, I guess, fine. I'll put the seed in my shirt and I'll just like leave. And she was about to start walking, and then she hears laughter.
Actually, She does say, "What did you do?" Because she's so like shocked. She's like, "What did you do, Bias? What the fuck?"
Yeah,
What
and
the
he
fuck
said-
you doing that to poor Malachus for?
and then we hear laughter from where Malachus Quai's corpse is chilling, and we're like, "What the fuck?" So Bias goes, "So you show yourself at last. I have suspected for some time that you are not who you appear to be. Where is my apprentice, and when did you replace him?" Dun dun dun, ladies and gentlemen. Malachus Quai has not been Malachus Quai.
Dun, dun,
No.
dun!
Nerd
pretty
alert or spoiler alert or surprise alert or something alert, but what the fuck? And then so the person that is quiet says months ago. What were you gonna say, George? Though?
Nothing gone.
Oh, I was gonna say, sorry.
It's too late.
It said, before you left on your fool's errand into the old empire. So Malchus Quiet gets back up and starts walking towards him. There's not a scratch on him, no blood, no nothing. I sat beside you at the fire. I watched you while you lay helpless in that cart. I was with you all the way to the edge of the world, the Mac. Your apprentice stayed here. I left his half-eaten corpse in the bushes for the flies. Not 20 strides from where you and the Northmen soundly slept. Oh, so Malachus Quiet was alive for about 3/4 of the first book.
But dogs killed Malachus Quai. I'm confused.
Dogs.
Dogs.
And so Bias is like, oh, so that makes sense why your skills were sharply improved. It's still shitting on Malachus Quiet even in death. Not rude.
Poor Malachus.
Poor Malachus. We should do a character spot for him instead of these. All right, so then he goes, well, there's time now to kill me. Bias says you should have killed me when we had a chance, and this person goes, well, there's time now. And Pharaoh's just like, huh, it's a little chilly in here now.
I like how like the tone that this changes, from like, okay, oh look, this is seed thing, that's kind of creepy. Oh my god, it's the seed, that's crazy, to like, like the fucking eerie music starts playing and fucking like that move that Baez did would have already killed somebody just by crunching him up, and it got thrown away, and that he's completely untouched, and that's utterly terrifying.
Yeah.
Yep. And so so Pharaoh's kind of like, this is a unique situation. What am I doing here? and Baez he asks this person, what are you then? 100 words? 1 word? Are you which of Kulul's creatures are you? The East Wind? One of those goddamn twins? I hate those twins. And then it says, I am not one of Kulul's creatures. Ruh-roh.
Baez is like, what the fuck?
He's like, who then? Who that? And this person says, we knew each other really well in times long past. Baez is like, who are you? Hello? And
her face, Malchus's face is melting off like hot wax.
Yep, taking forms. A dread and insidious trick. Do you not remember me, Baez? Another face showed itself as the outer face. Malchus' face is melting off. You said that you would love me forever. You promised me that we would never be parted when I opened my father's gate to you.
No!
In fact, you look surprised. Not as surprised as I was when instead of taking me in your arms, you threw me from the roof, huh? And why? So you can keep your secrets? So you can seem noble? Ptolemy is back from the dead, folks. Apparently, she never died. Apparently she did, or whatever.
She did die.
Yeah, Baez is tripping. He's like, I saw you in your grave. I put the earth over you myself. And she's like, yep, yeah, you did. And you wept like a little bitch when you did it. But you didn't do it as if you were the one that didn't throw me down. But I touched the other side in these 2 hands. So I guess when she had touched the seed, when the father had was working on it, so it left her changed. And in the dirt between life and death, she heard the voices that Glustrad heard long ago, and they offered her a bargain, her freedom for theirs. Yeah. So she broke the first law. She truly touched the other side. And, Baez like, you broke the first law. She's like, man, laws mean nothing to a fucking dead person, you dick.
Yeah, basically, when she touched the seed, it allowed her demonic side to live on on the other side, just like because she's now a part of that too. So her human body died completely. So the demons basically gave her back her demon self in her human body, in order to, gain her.
Yeah, whatever was human is dead, but she's all demon now, apparently. And yeah, and she's gonna like use the seed to like open a portal to the other side.
Finish what Glustra started.
Yeah, so this is not good news.
This is very much developed in the last 2 or 3 pages, isn't it?
Yeah, a lot has happened. It's like, oh shit.
I like that there is a small implication here. Maybe I'm reading into it too much as usual, but the fact that no demon person is awakened until they touch the other side. Otherwise, they're fairly normal with a few different attributes, which is probably how Aeus was able to like conquer the world and throw out all the demons, because he was using the other side, even though they are one, in a manner at which other demon bloods could not. So it's just interesting because he obviously used it.
And I
He's a hypocrite.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I wanted to talk about real quick where she said like the demon part of me can never die. I'm like, no, it's not true, right?
No,
I mean,
well, her demon part is not actually there.
But
that's debatably, they may not have been able to kill Glustra. Glustra killed himself. We don't know.
Yeah, but Juven's died, Canadius died. They're all demons.
Yeah, but they didn't touch the other side.
Canadius did though.
No, he didn't.
He touched the seed.
He worked on the seed. He had to. He had to.
Wonder if somebody may be returning then. The point is
shit.
She made a deal with the devils, right? To say that, she says I cannot die. She's probably just fucking going crazy. She probably can die.
Yeah.
Otherwise, Aeus would have been although Aeus never says he killed the demons, he says he cast them all out.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So
hard to say. Anyways.
Yeah. So she's like, give me the seed, little girl. I made a promise to the tellers of secrets, and I keep the promises I make. And Baya's like, we shall see. And the air around him starts to shimmer, and he's getting ready. And Ptolemy just gets right up to him and just smacks him. His staff bitch slapped him. His staff burst apart. He splutters, and he goes flying through the fucking air, and he just crashes down. And like, Baez is ouch. And Ptolemy, is talking shit. He's like, the years have made you weak. Your art can't harm me. So, and she stands, she basically stands over him. He lifts up her foot, and is about to smash her
Mortal Kombat
head in. Yeah. She's like, for all you took from me, for my father and for myself. And then, boom, she just spontaneously combusts. And apparently Yolway came out of nowhere, and he has all these swords under his arm. He's like, ruh-roh. And he's like, Pharaoh, you good? And Pharaoh's just like, And he's like, go, get the fuck out of here. And then
she says go. But she obviously Ptolemy is just like, oh, that kind of hurt. I got rid of my outside layer of skin. So she stands up and she's like, all right, there's always something more. No fire can burn me, conjurer. You cannot stop me. But in your way, in his awesome voice, can you say the line, George? What does he say to her?
But I must try.
Yes. And so he tells Pharaoh to like stand still, and he starts doing this epic magic shit that we don't ever see again.
He's like fucking spinning these swords around and shit, and he's like, what the fuck? You're always a badass.
He starts spinning around him and Pharaoh like a shield of swords. And it works because she's like, your fire cannot harm me. But guess what? These are Canadius' swords. You damn right they could probably harm her. So she's like having a hard time with this. She doesn't quite know what to do. So what does she do? She does some crazy fucking move. She jumps up in the air. And apparently she doesn't abide to the laws of gravity, because mid-air she stops and forces herself down onto the ground right where they're standing, and it cracks the stone of the House of the Maker, which is the most crazy shit that I've ever seen inside of these novels.
This is some superhero stuff, isn't it? What the fuck is going on?
Yeah, it's fucking terrifying. Oh, anyways, then she's like fucking her and Yulwei kind of going back and forth, kind of shit talking, and she sees Baez start to stand back up, and he's got something inside of his cloak there, inside of his clothes, and it looks like the divider.
He starts looking at the ceiling.
He starts looking at the ceiling, and he's looking at that big old all those rings up in the air, and he starts doing his crazy like powers, and brings that shit down.
So yeah, the astrolabe, as George called it, right, comes crashing down, and we have to imagine the immensity of this thing, right? This thing, Canadius is he always he went big. He was like he personifies Texas, all right. It's always bigger, it's better, baby. And so this thing just crashes down. It's a fucking wreck. We don't know where Yulwei is. We don't know where Ptolemy is, and Baez is like, get the fuck out of here, Pharaoh, go! And she's like, what about Yulwei? He's like, I'll come back for him, don't worry. Just go, get the fuck out of here. And she's like, all right, I guess I'm gonna go. And she starts running, and she sees the archway that she needs to go to. And as she gets right when she gets there, she feels like something like a cold rush, whatever, at her side. So she's like, uh-oh, and she just like kind of falls forward on purpose. And it was Ptolemy. She, her hand had missed Pharaoh by a whisker apparently, and tore out a great chunk of stone from the wall. It was like, and she's like, "You go nowhere." What do you say, Harrison?
Jesus Christ!
I know. I remember, ladies and gentlemen, this is Canadian stone. This is like the Greek marble. This thing is the best of the best, and she's out here just smashing it like a
the Magi throwing everything they had at their full power. All fucking 12 of them could not harm it. They couldn't do anything, and she's just fucking knocking it away like nothing.
She's not here to play any games. And Pharaoh, I mean, you gotta give Pharaoh credit. She was like, it says that her patience was all but worn down. Like, she knows she should run, but she sprang up. Her fist was already swinging. All the fury of her wasted months, her wasted years, her wasted life behind it. And her fist cracked Ptolemy's jaw and basically cracked her own hand.
Anything.
Punching the fucking brick wall.
Didn't do anything. And Pharaoh didn't care because her other fist was already on its way. And Ptolemy just grabs it and kind of just like breaks her arm. She's like, please, give me the seed. And then it's going through her, one hand is going through her shirt. It's like, where's the seed? Let me get it. Tickle, tickle, tickle. And then apparently there's like a sudden light, like a curve of light. And apparently Ptolemy's hand was sliced off just above the wrist. And Ptolemy's like, what the fuck?
And it also cuts a hole all the way through the ground of the House of the Maker and up the wall, like a huge gash.
Yep. And then it's the divider. Baez is like, ah! He's just roaring mindlessly.
I like how like he's like got all this magic and he just like turns to the sword in the end and he's just like, fuck it. Let's get chopping.
Yep. And then he blasted her away. This part was pretty cool, where she was blasted away with one heel tearing a long scar through the map on the floor, gouging up the rock and ripping up metal, which is insane. And then she goes, die, devil, and she starts laughing.
What? No, yeah, Baez is like, oh, and he fucking like she can feel it. Pharaoh can feel it because Baez's power is just the way they are. They always emit outward, and so she can feel like his will, and he just fucking throws Ptolemy back. That's why he's screaming out, using all his might, and just flings her all the way back across the House of the Maker.
Right, and into the wreckage of the astrolabe thingy. And
run.
And then it tells her to run, and so she starts running. And he's like, "Remember, straight to the palace, put in the box, seal it tight, Get the fuck out of here. So she starts running. Wang, 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 wang. She's just running. She gets out of the house of the maker. She's going over the bridge. She hears some like metal stuff going on behind her, but she ain't looking back. So she's just running. Out of my way. She's bumping up to people because remember, people, the seed in AUKUS, when some soldiers found it or whatever, it caused it was like radiation poisoning. So
Yeah, and it was quick as well.
yeah. So she's like, go, go, go. And then like apparently she gets to the gates of the palace, and the guards that had let her out weren't letting her in. She's like, let me go, you fucking idiots, because they were grabbing her like, wait, what are you doing? Yeah, you foreigner or whatever. And then
No,
luckily,
what have you got there?
yeah. And then Sulfur, who happens to be there, he goes, let her in right now in the name of Lord Baez. And that gets it done. So she runs through, gets to the palace, gets to the room, finds the box, puts that seed in the box, and kind of like looks at it longingly for a moment before, and then she kind of just like, she closes the box. And then she noticed that
Well,
her arms are fine. They were healed, right?
yeah, I mean everything's just it seems to have powered her up.
Yeah. Or at least like it's done her good, at least. We know that for sure right now.
Yeah.
And then she turns around and she sees that Baez had came through the doorway. Dry blood on his beard, sweating. He I like this description. He looked like a man who had spent the afternoon fighting a devil and had only just survived.
But yeah, well, that's exactly what happened.
Yep. And then Pharaoh asks him, where's your way? And Baez just goes, you know where he is. And remember that metal clashing I mentioned behind Pharaoh as she was running across the bridge? Sounded like a door being shut and locked. And Baez is the one with the key.
Oh dear.
So she was like, oh, so you didn't go back and you sealed the gates with them inside. And Baez goes, sacrifices must be made. I have made a great sacrifice today, my own brother. Ptolemy broke the first law. She struck a deal with the tellers of secrets. She meant to use the sea to open the gate to the world below. She could be more dangerous than all of Kalul's eaters. The house of the Maker must remain sealed until the end of time if need be. An outcome not without irony, because she began her life in prison in that tower, and now she has returned to that. History moves in circles, just as Juvens always said. Man, fuck your circles, you little...
Fuck your circles, Pink.
You lied to me about Ptolemy, about the Maker, about everything. And he goes, and? She says, Yulway was a good man. He helped me in the desert. He saved my life. And Baez agrees. He says, yeah, and mine, more than once. But good men will only go so far along dark paths. Others must walk the rest of the way. And Sulfur comes through at that point, and he takes the divider, and he's like, okay, he's going to put this daintily away. And he gives Baez an old black book that apparently Pharaoh had seen once before. And
Lestrod's book.
yeah. And Baez looks to Pharaoh and he goes, look, the paths that we walk are dark indeed. You have seen it. So, and Pharaoh didn't say anything. She's just thinking about it. She knows like Yulway was a good man, but the gate of the Maker's house was sealed, and that's it. He was basically dead. He's going to heaven or hell. Pharaoh's buried many men in many different ways. One more. Well, what's a big deal about one more? She was tired of delaying her revenge, and all she wants is vengeance, and that's what she says to Baez. And Baez says, "Look, and you shall have it, just as I promised." And then so she looks at Baez and she just says, what does it matter now then? Who killed who 1,000 years ago? And then Baez just says, and he smiles, he goes, you speak my very thoughts. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of the chapter. Wow.
Oh, that's pretty fucking incredible, isn't it?
Uh-huh.
I mean, we get so much about Baez here.
Yep.
Like, we start with Yulway actually like coming out and distrusting and saying, like, did you Mahmoud and Kalul both said that you killed Juvens, so
did you kill that motherfucker? What's up? What happened? Did you kill our homie?
And I mean, that's got to be why he killed her, right? Killed Ptolemy.
You think? Oh, because she knew?
Because she said, like, why? Just to keep your secrets, or to make sure that you look noble?
Oh, that's right. Because Canadius would have known that Baez had killed Juvens.
And so would Ptolemy, by extension.
Right. Oh, damn.
Yeah, possibly. With how close
Ooh,
they
that
were.
makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah, I think that he might have told her in confidence when he was freaking out. It most
Mhm.
clearly the most cool, interesting part about Baez's character is he has the effect that the effect that the Emperor of Mankind does in Warhammer 44K, which is you don't exactly know where he stands on things, and it's really hard to tell exactly where his mindset is because he's been around for so long, and so it seems like Baez genuinely, as we've talked about in the past, does regret things and has made mistakes. I believe he accidentally killed Juvens, and when he confided in Ptolemy, and he figured out, oh my god, I could blame it on her dad. And then he figured out how to blame it on him, convinced the Magi, all to cover up. I think it was a mistake. I don't think he purposely killed Juvens because he sounds so regretful of it. I don't think he meant to do it. I think something happened, maybe with the divider. I don't know. But
Well, I mean, the timeline of what you're positing is a bit tricky though, because remember, Ptolemy's at the house of the Maker. Canadius goes to Juvens to talk to his boy Bias. It's like, hey, send your boy out. I want to see him real quick. So
oh, that's true. That's true. I'm sorry. Well, without that, then without him telling her. But
right. So
I just
maybe. Go ahead.
I just think that he I don't think he meant to kill Juvens because of the way he talks about it. He sounds very sincere in his apology, but not sincere in his cover up. He's obviously covering it up. And everything since then has all been a lie and been facade. But anytime he talks about it, like it's been long enough, it's been such a long time, but he still is like, man, that fucking sucks that Juvens died. Even though he obviously played a part in it. So
Yeah, I mean, wonder how
I
he
don't
would have done it
yeah.
accidentally though. Maybe a heated argument.
Heated argument, and he had the divider. He took it with him. Canadius followed because he stole something from him, the divider. Bias got tired of being fucking talked down to by Juvens, so whenever he left the Canadius, he took the divider with him, and just in case something got out of hand, because he knew Juvens was going to be upset with him. But then they got into an argument, and he fucking whipped that bitch out, killed him, and Canadius showed him not long after, and, oh, there is a great battle, blah, 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 blah. No, there wasn't.
Canadius was like,
Got
yo, what the fuck happened
assassinated.
to my brother?
Yeah, he kept it hidden. And why do you think the divider wasn't used maybe he used the divider to kill Canadians too? Who knows? But the point is he didn't. The divider wasn't ever seen again. At all. He wasn't seen until like it was never mentioned before that point. It's just as weird that such a powerful artifact was not used by Canadians to kill a bunch of magi. If he was on the back fence, wouldn't he use it? Unless somebody else had it.
Mm,
I don't know.
okay.
To me, it seems that Bias is
Solid.
covering it up. He's covering up a mistake less so than he's covering up a lie, which has turned into a lie, I guess. But
I mean, I don't know. Maya's covering up all kinds of things out here,
that's
killing,
true. Yes.
throwing girls off rooftops and shit. What's wrong with him? Wait, first of all, let's rate the chapter. Let's rate the chapter.
What do you give it, Jeff?
Fuck, man, I might give this a 9 out of 9 fingers. I think I will.
I think I'm with you.
I'm
All
with
right.
you too.
Oh shit!
George, why do you think it's a 9 out of 9?
It's just so good. It's like the culmination of this story with especially with Malachus Kwai, because we now know that it was Ptolemy the whole time.
Rest in peace, sweet prince.
Exactly, all of the foreshadowing with Ptolemy / Malachus, Malachus Pi, if you like, maybe. Like it's just such a good build up and such a good. And when you read back over, especially before they are hanged, you just see it so much. You're like, yes, it's absolutely incredible, and revealing some of Bias's true colors.
Yeah, it's so good. Because like any chapter you get like Yulway in it, Sulfur, Bias, it's like, oh shit, Gathering of the Magicians. All right, baby. And and we gotta appreciate that. This is the first time I think we gave a Pharaoh chapter 9 out of 9 fingers.
It might be, yeah, it is.
Yeah, so good on Pharaoh for getting this one. I mean, fictional character and all that, but whatever. It should make her feel good. Anyway, yeah, like anytime we get to the House of the Maker, it's gonna be a great chapter. I feel like always, just the setting, the like the terrorizing ambiance. But like for Pharaoh, at least when she first got there, she thought she was in Bahamas. She was loving it, and yeah, and then we see Yulway, questioning Sulfur, and we get to like look at Sulfur from another perspective instead of the perspective that we've seen him of always like, usually from like Giselle, I think that we see Sulfur, a happy-go-lucky kind of guy, but then Pharaoh's the one that picks up on something like, I don't know, something not too nice about this guy. I don't know about his eyes. I don't really know. And then Yulwei questions it. And then, anytime Yulwei makes an appearance, it's fantastic. We get like a natural exposition about the past, nothing like forced. It's natural for Yulwei to be like, biased. Let's talk about what happened back then, because I seem to remember things a certain way differently than what you're telling us. But yeah. And then, obviously, the reveal Ptolemy, like, holy fuck. I remember when I first read it, I was like, uh-oh. Ruh-roh. I remember, like, thinking, Kwai's being mad moody. God. For, like, 2 books already. Jesus. Get over yourself, Kwai. Now I'm like, I get it. Oh, shit. Harrison, what do you think?
I know I said a lot of my thoughts already, so I'll cover the parts you guys didn't cover, and I didn't talk about really. The fucking superhero magic smashdown fight is like one of the coolest fights, if not the coolest fight in the entire series. I just think it's so epic. Them all using their magic, and I just think it lines up so well with like this build up of this magic plot line that no one expected Ptolemy, like you said. You're like, oh shit, and Ptolemy is justifiably upset and makes understandable decisions in her position. I don't think anybody would have not done what she had to do, for the most part. Right. Yulwei is super badass. You can see Bias's true colors. It's just it's incredible build up and writing. It improves like all of the books, like the blade itself, and before they hang, they're suddenly like they are literally like I think like doubly better after this chapter because of the kind of build up and setup and foreshadowing. And then finally, I think there's so many small details of like subtle storytelling, and despite the Baez reveal, Baez is still mysterious. We're still questioning his intentions. There's still this hauntingness. There's still this terror. It somehow is able to reveal and have this epic fight, and it progress the plot an immense amount without losing any of the charm. It doesn't like blow its load. It's like still good to go, and like you still feel exactly the same way afterwards, just with more information. And it's just incredible.
Well said, Harrison. Well said. I like that. That was good. George, you want to add to it anything?
No, I think we're all done here.
Yeah. All right. So let's great chapter, 9 out of 9, trifecta, bam. Now let's move on to our final segment, character spot. And who else could it be but Yulwei and Ptolemy? Kind of rhymes. I'm actually gonna throw in Quiet here too, because we gotta respect the fact that he's been dead for like months and we didn't even know.
Exactly. So why are we character spotting him? We character spot him back in Blade itself when he was still a person. By the way, that's exactly what we planned.
Listen, man, cut Kawhi some slack, all right? You've been hating on him for all this time. Jeez, just like
I like how Kawhi didn't like even ever fully recover from his illness in the first book. Like he just like that's it, just gets rescued by Logan, and that's it. That's all he does.
Yeah, he's like still recovering, can't remember plans. It still has the sniffles when they're in Adjoa, and then goes to the docks to like on sightseeing trip and gets eaten. Like that man had a shitty 6 months or whatever that was.
Should have stayed with Zacharias, man.
Should have just stayed out in the West, buddy. Fuck that.
Yulwei, we've already mentioned Yulwei once, but he's just so epic here, and it's really sad that he gets left behind.
Yeah, fuck, that broke my heart.
And it's so sad that he goes through all his life like believing Baez and being manipulated by him, and then he just gets killed by Ptolemy anyway.
Well,
I don't know if he necessarily just like was manipulated, but I will say he did go along. Like he's just like, all right, it's either that or Khalul, or I just go off on my own. Which I'm surprised. I guess Yulwei didn't do, but I guess he always wanted like I don't want to say a family, but like camaraderie.
He wanted to be a part of something bigger.
Yeah, I mean, but like, look, he's always offering Pharaoh like to for her to accompany him. Like I think he wants to be with people. Like he likes to be on a team or something. But yeah, man, the homie. Ugh.
But he may not be dead. We shall see.
Can't help but feel sorry for Ptolemy as well.
Yep. I
She
mean,
didn't
like,
ask for any of this.
yeah. I mean, she made the deal with the demons, but like you said, Harrison, I think, or George, who wouldn't in that position? If you're clinging to somehow, you're in the middle of like life and death. Somehow, you're in that space between, and you just hear a voice like, "Hey, man, I can give you eternal life if you want to just open the door for me." Like, I guess I'd make that choice too.
Yeah, and she would pissed off, I have there's a high chance that at the top of that fucking tower, Canadius and his daughter were talking, and with Bias. Bias is the only one up there at that point, and who knows how that conversation. I would kill for Joe to like write a short story of that conversation of exactly what happened. Oh my god, can you imagine how complex it would be with all these subtext and like what kind of intentions there were. Bias and Canadius are like about to fucking kill each other, and maybe Ptolemy's trying to help, and she's like, "No, we can work through this. I don't care that you killed Juvens." And then Bias looks at Canadius is like, "Oh my god, you told her? Why did you tell her?" And he's like, "Because you're an ass." And then Bias is like, "Great, now I have to take care of her too." And she's like, "What?" And just fucking yeets her off the bridge, off the top. And Canadius is, and maybe that's what Canadius felt right after, because he was so shocked that his one and only daughter was killed by her true love.
No.
And it's like, my god, that's fucked up. And then gets pushed off too.
But
fucking crazy.
But Canadius fell first though.
No,
according to Bias anyway.
Oh yeah, sorry, you're right. Canadius says that you're right.
Yeah.
That's the way. That was the Bias side.
The Canadius falling second is the Bias propaganda version. All right, that's the Fox News or whatever, CNN. Like, yeah, that's what happened.
No, you're right. My bad. I misspoke. But still, it would be incredible.
It would be incredible, for sure. I will say this though. Convince me if you can, right? One of you two. But bit of a plot hole here, because Ptolemy was buried outside the house of the Maker, so it's not like she was trapped. She was alive. Right, but I mean, come on, they're not burying her in the Maker. There's no dirt in the Maker, the house of the Maker. I mean, and I mean, so she was out and about. Why did she wait hundreds of years? Like what? Why did she?
We don't know how. Well, okay. There's a couple things to think about here. One, yes, there is a slight plot hole there. But two, plot convenience. Three, the actual reasoning that I would assume that you could say is she does not say how long it took her to leave the ground. She says it took her a long time to get out, because she probably was sitting there dead for like a while before she actually came back to life.
Really?
Now it's been a long time.
Okay.
It could have been more recent than you think. Two, the circle of the world. In the circle of the world, it's quite large. Ptolemy only knew the tower. She knows nothing else other than the house of the Maker. She never left it. She had no clue. She had no clue where anything is. No clue who people are. She knows that she has to be careful and subtle, because she doesn't know how dangerous things are. She doesn't know the history. She doesn't know anything. If she was even in there for even just a couple hundred years instead of a couple thousand, who knows what she could have missed? Like history-wise. So she's playing it safe. And most importantly, what does she need? She needs the seed. And she can't get into the seed without getting in the house of the Maker. It's possible she just hung around the house of the Maker for a long time, because she's trying to figure out a way to get in. Who knows? It is a slight plot hole, because it's like, why didn't she go find Bias sooner, or like interrogate him or something? But you could have said that for the whole story. She was trying to find the seed, and she knew that he was her best option.
I mean, that makes sense.
Wait. Actually, hold on. We might have. Bias opens the house of the Maker in the Blade itself for the first time since the battle against Canadius.
Ooh.
Maybe when he opened it, she got out. Like you said, she was in the house of the Maker, and then she was able to leave.
Did they find the corpse before then, though?
No, it was after.
It was after.
Yeah. I remember.
It could be, or maybe opening the house, she found out Maybe she was just doing her own thing, trying to, who knows what the fuck she was doing. And then she found out Bias was back in town, so she came back.
The boys
she
are back in
realized, there
town.
you are.
Mhm,
But
yeah.
he'd been there before,
Yeah.
so
But he had a different name at that time as well, so she might not have even known that it was him.
that's a good point. That's a very
Mhm.
good point.
Mm.
So
Mm.
it is interesting, and try to ponder. Anyways, though, Ptolemy is definitely justified.
Yeah,
maybe took things a little too far. But.
Can we talk about remember before they were hanged, the exchange between Baez and what's her fucking
Malchus.
no
we will in our spoiler episode when we get done with
no, but before they're hanged, the exchange with what's that other magician, the girl,
Cornel.
huh?
Cornel.
Cornel, thank you. And they're talking about, like, remember they're shitting on each other. Remember we talked about this, that because you fucked Kalul, he's a better lover, but you were more passionate or whatever there. And then we saw Kwai just like staring at the both of them like motherfuckers. Now, it puts a lot more context, like, right. Because Baez is balls deep in both of them and no one knew it.
Baez is a player.
Player Pip. Oh man. Well, that was a great one. Anything else about those two you guys want to talk about?
No, we think we
That's
covered.
rip your way. We'll miss you.
Yeah, rip your way.
You were the best of them.
Yeah, because I don't think he's not surviving Ptolemy for a long time. I mean, he can probably evade her, but fuck. It's probably
Imagine if they like come to terms and they just both like live in the house of the maker together.
Or imagine it's just like a recurring like Three Stooges episode where Ptolemy just continuously chases him and he just
like the fucking Roadrunner.
yeah, there you go. Oh shit! All right, rest in peace, Yulwei and Ptolemy and Kwai, officially,
yeah.
So yeah, that's it. All right, that's our show, everyone. We want to thank you all for listening and supporting this podcast. As you know, this is a passion project for the three of us, and your support really does mean a lot.
Join us next time as we cover Tomorrow's Hero and Nightfall.
And make sure you follow us on social media. We're on Reddit, we're on Twitter, and occasionally on Instagram. And we have a website, circleoftheworld.com.
And if you haven't already, please subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or any podcast app that you use. And please make sure to rate and review this podcast. Thank you all again for listening.
Laws mean nothing to the buried.